Helen,
And I'm Liz,
and we're sisters
scientists,
and lifelong X-Files fans.
and this is We Want to Believe. Welcome, colleagues.
Welcome back. I have so many thoughts for you today, and it wasn't even my week to watch the episode.
Oh,
Yep.
did you watch the episode?
No, I didn't. I have thoughts about other things.
Awesome, because I have so many thoughts.
Oh, about the episode?
Yes, and related topics. This was actually a really good one for me to do.
Ooh.
We'll get into why.
Oh, cool. Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. The thing that I have thoughts about are our monster versus monster bracket.
Oh, great.
Yes.
I have thoughts about that, and I also have thoughts from other people.
Oh, awesome. I have so much to say on the topic of Pusher versus Flukeman that it's like this was an accidental match, right? You just chose.
Yeah. Mhm.
It actually is like such an interesting biological question, and I have been contemplating it for the last week.
Oh my God, I'm so excited.
Yeah. So do you want to give us other people's thoughts first?
Yeah, so just to remind everybody, this is our first discussion of our X-Files Villains Bracket Tournament. We have 16 different villains. I can tell you who they are now. We are talking today about Robert Patrick Modell versus the Flukeman. All the other villains are people who we have covered so far. So it's from the first 4 seasons. I included 2 people who we haven't covered yet, but by the time we get to their bracket, we will have. Because I wanted to. So we've got them. And then next up, our bracket is Darren Patrick Oswald, DPO, played by Giovanni Ribisi, Lightning Boy, if you will, versus the Eve clones.
Oh, that's a fun one.
So that is for next week. So first off, please let us know your thoughts on what would happen in a battle between DPO and the Eves. You can DM us on Instagram. You can email us. And remember, that's We Want to Believe Pod on Instagram. And it's We Want to Believe Pod at gmail.com. And we'll share your thoughts on next week's episode. After that, we've got Virgil Incanto versus Phyllis Paddock. We've got Cecil Lively, who's the fire starter guy, the British dude.
Oh,
Versus Leonard Betts, and that's an upcoming episode, Leonard Betts. We've got that gargoyle versus the Peacock family from Home.
Oh.
We've got Jerry Schnauz, the Stilts man from Unruh, versus Terry and Margie from Syzygy, the 2 teenagers.
Oh.
We've got, I think this is an interesting matchup. Really, I wanted to see them destroy each other. We've got Toombs versus Luther Lee Boggs.
Ooh.
2 of, I feel like, the most famous villains in the show for non-conspiracy episodes. And then we've got, this is, I don't know, such a sad and absurd way this worked out. We've got Donnie Pfaster, arguably the scariest villain, versus Eddie Van Blunt. He's the guy who had a tail and can shapeshift in small potatoes.
Oh, I have thoughts already.
I know. So those are our matchups. Those are our 16 competitors.
Awesome.
And we will be updating the bracket as we go and sharing it on our social media. But for now, talking about Pusher versus Flukeman, here are the thoughts. The one, and I have a feeling this is what you're going to bring up. The one thing that one person said was like, well, the whole question is, so Pusher, right? He can talk people into the stuff. He can kind of control their minds, right? Cerulean blue, and he makes you just see the sky and not the big truck about to hit you. So one person was like, well, the question is, can he do that to the Flukeman, who is a big worm? And then somebody else said, just assuming he couldn't do that, but said what he could do is take over someone else's mind and convince them to kill the Flukeman.
See, that I feel like doesn't count, though.
I don't know. I disagree. I think it counts, and let me tell you why.
Okay.
Because people should be able to use resources, right? Like look, the Eve clones versus DPO. If we say simply 2 little girls versus a teenage boy, you go, probably the teenage boy will win. but they're savvy and they're smart. And I know we're not talking about that matchup yet, but like clearly people have to be able to use resources. And I feel like one of his resources is other people.
Okay. All right. Okay.
So I would argue that that is a reasonable approach. If
Okay.
I were a pusher, that's what I would do if I couldn't control the worm. And that's the question.
Okay. Can I go, or do you have more?
No, those were the main thoughts. It was mostly a question of, can pusher control the Fluke man? And if not, what are his other options?
Okay. So my family was driving back from soccer, because that's all we do.
Yes.
And Zach and Hugo were both asleep, and William was controlling the music. And so it was basically just me and my thoughts.
Yes.
And I got obsessed with this and then did a bunch of research, because in my mind, it's two questions that we're asking here.
Oh, okay.
One is, what part of the brain is Robert Patrick Modell controlling? And does the Flukeman have that part of the brain?
Helen, thank you. That's what this needs to be boiled down to. You're
Yeah.
absolutely right.
I am. Yes, it's a question of biology. So I did some research.
Okay. Awesome.
Okay, so talking about Robert Patrick Modell first. So I read over Pusher. So I read over the ways in which he made people die,
Mhm.
most of which seem to be some sort of manipulation of their cerebral cortex. So for those of you who are less familiar with the brain,
Like me.
yeah, although you probably cerebral cortex.
I know they're parts of the brain.
Okay. So it's the part that humans have that's real big that most other animals don't.
Oh, okay.
So we have the cerebral cortex and the cerebrum. We have, there's a bunch of different parts of the brain. I am very much simplifying here. Then we have like the brainstem, and we have the cerebellum in the back. And what's notable is that our cerebrum, like I said, is part that humans have that is giant compared to all other animals, pretty much. So
Okay.
our ratio of cerebrum to cerebellum to brainstem and midbrain is much more weighted towards us having a giant cerebrum. So this is where we get things like.
Oh, can I pause? Is the cerebrum and the cerebral cortex the same thing?
So the cerebral cortex is the surrounding outside of the cerebrum. So
Got it.
kind of.
Okay.
So the cerebrum is where we get things like language processing, language learning in general. So it's not a whole lot of like keeping us alive stuff. It's more, intellectual.
Okay. Kind of like putting together conceptions or whatever about our environment or analysis or whatever.
Right. Planning, being able to interpret different stimuli in different ways. This is all, as opposed to like emotion and aliveness.
Oh, emotion is not in there. Okay.
A little bit. So emotion is mostly coming through the amygdala, which is an interior part of the brain, which we can see similarities in different structures, which I'm actually going to talk about with the Fluke man. I'm sorry. I'm going to try to keep this brief.
Hey, no, you do what you got to do, because the actual episode Musings of a Cigarette Smoking Man, I can talk through fairly quickly. It's some other extra stuff. We got time. Let's do a deep dive, because I feel confident other people have analyzed this particular episode of the X-Files, but I think this question is groundbreaking.
Okay, great. So then we have stuff like, controlling heartbeat and controlling our smooth muscle and our breathing pattern. And that stuff is all more like brainstem, midbrain. Cerebellum is important for like balance and proprioception, so knowing where we are in space. And things that like we see very similar structures and very similar arrangements of the structures between us and, dogs. Right.
Okay. Dogs have very different cerebrum than us.
Yeah, they're much smaller.
Oh,
much smaller.
Like proportionately or whatever.
Right. Yeah. Compared to the other parts of their brain.
Okay.
Yeah. Right, because I mean their whole brains are smaller because of body size, but they're also proportionally smaller. Okay, so looking at what Robert Patrick Modell has done and what he has convinced people of and to do, there's one that is very different that I'm not quite sure what to do with. So
Is it a heart attack?
yes, it's the heart attack one. So he convinces people they're seeing different things. He convinces people to believe him. Most of his stuff, I feel like, is him controlling the other person's cerebrum in some way.
Like their processing of the environment and what they like, or like interpreting the environment?
Right, their perception of things.
Okay.
Yeah. Whereas when he convinces the person to have a heart attack, that's like the wrench in my theory. That's the one thing that sticks out because that seems like it's him controlling the center, the part of the person's brain where things like heart rate and breathing rate and some of our kind of sympathetic and parasympathetic, so like our more regulated homeostasis, things just kind of keeping us in balance are located.
Is it possible that he actually convinced the guy to die a different way? Like the guy had like more of a panic attack thinking about his heart, as someone who feels like they could die from thinking about their heart. This is relevant.
Maybe. I mean, there's also it's weird because like he convinces someone there's just sky in front of them. Again, that's a very perception-based thing. But like I don't know how he would convince someone's like arteries to suddenly block and stop, bringing blood to the heart. Like that's a very like.
Yeah, like I know that like there's plenty of things where people will think they're having a heart attack, but it turns out to be a panic attack. But the problem there is that, of course, then they don't die if they're just having a panic attack.
Right. Yeah. So I'm not sure what to do with that one.
Okay, maybe we just put that aside, or we say there is a possibility that he has other powers that he mostly doesn't exhibit.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
But for the most part, I feel comfortable saying that he's manipulating something in people's perception of their senses, which is very cerebral.
Like, for example, the other one where he just writes pass on a piece of paper and holds it up and he's allowed into the building. Right. And then he tricks this woman into thinking that somebody else is the man who mugged her, even though he's not.
Yes.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. So then the question is, what does the Flukeman's brain look like?
Yes, that is the question.
That is. So now looking at the Flukeman and his behavior, I went like real hard into this.
This is awesome.
Okay, so let's start here. So I don't think he has the sort of nervous system setup of a Fluke, because a Fluke doesn't even have a brain. They just have two ganglia.
What's a Fluke?
A Fluke, the worms?
It's a worm. I know we went over this because I once asked everyone, is this worm cute? So it's a little worm?
Yeah. Yeah.
We wouldn't find them on the ground, right? They'd be in like water.
Yeah, water. They're parasites, usually.
Yes, they're parasites. That's right, of course. Yeah.
Okay. And so they
don't even have a brain. Okay.
Yeah, they don't even have a brain. And also, again, you picked this randomly, right?
What I did was I wanted to start with the Flukeman, but his opponent was random.
In as I was researching this and reading back over the episodes and what they could do, in the episode Pusher, there is a picture of a newspaper that mentions the Flukeman.
Oh my God, that's amazing. I knew that was in one other episode. I didn't remember it was that one.
Yeah.
Oh, he's in the grocery store and he sees like a Weekly World News sort of thing that mentions the Flukeman and he like laughs at it.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm even more of a genius than I realized. Okay.
It's true. So the Flukeman, so Flukes don't have brains. Okay. They just have two clusters of ganglia, which are like bundles of nerves.
Okay.
So it can, in some of them, some Flukes, not most, but just some of them have what are they called? Ocelli, I think is how you would say it. They're Ocelli. So these little spots that can pick up light. So they're
Oh, like proto eyes?
yeah, like proto eyes. Yeah.
Okay.
But all they're doing is just sensing light. They're not sending any sort of signals about the meaning of that light because there's no brain.
Okay.
So I feel very confident the Fluke man does not have the nervous system structure of a fluke based on things like the fact that he seems to be able to plan a little bit. He seems to be able to like lay in wait. He seems
Yeah.
to, he's able to, I mean, he has kind of the body shape of a primate. So like I don't think he has the structure of a fluke.
And I just want to remind everyone that, as you know, because it's going to be relevant later today, Wong and Morgan are kind of the famous James Wong, Glenn Morgan, famous pair who wrote for the X-Files. Darren Morgan is Glenn Morgan's brother, who also wrote a bunch of famous X-Files. Darren Morgan's first interaction, though, on the X-Files was playing the Fluke Man. So he's the dude in the suit. And I just want to bring that up because we're talking about a Wong and Morgan episode later. And there's a little Easter egg that's amazing that I'd never seen before. So we'll get there.
Ooh, okay.
I just want to mention Darren Morgan as our Fluke Man.
Oh, awesome. So, and again, I feel mildly ridiculous for how far down this rabbit hole I went.
The scholarly approach that we need.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so then I thought, well, what sort of brain might he have? And what that sticks out to me is the fact that he is a vertebrate that can regenerate. And that's weird.
Yeah.
Because most things that can regenerate tissue are not vertebrates.
Like a starfish or something.
Yeah. And so I was like, okay, so are there any vertebrates that can regenerate? Because then he'd have to have the sort of nervous system to be okay with regeneration that would allow him to do so. Because remember, he like gets cut in half and then regenerates.
Yeah.
There is a vertebrate that can regenerate its limbs, and that is the axolotl.
Oh my God. No.
Yeah. Those cute little guys.
Oh. Is the Fluke Man part axolotl?
Well, so what I'm proposing is that he has a similar nervous system as an axolotl. Okay. I went down a really kind of long rabbit hole as well, looking at like the difference in brains between predators and prey, because his behavior makes me think of something like a shark or a lion or something. Like he is clearly driven by predatory instincts, and has a certain amount of like planning and knowledge, but not in like a
not like pusher. Or
not like pusher, but more like, and so I read some interesting stuff about the amygdala of different animals that are more predatory, and how like I can't remember the exact part of it was responsible for kind of those prey instincts. And so then I was thinking like, well, that it's probably a part that Fluke Man has.
Okay.
And then I looked at like the brain anatomy of an axolotl and the brain anatomy of a shark, and was comparing them to human. Clearly the cerebrum is much smaller. The shark and the axolotl brain are relatively similar in shape, just very different in size, obviously.
Oh. Yeah. Oh, okay. Wow.
I feel like there was more that I had, but I think what I was going, my assumption then became that I think that he probably has a brain similar to a shark. Oh, no, you know what it was? It was that axolotls, which are amphibians. There was this whole thing that I read about amphibians and their nervous systems being an interesting case study in predation as well as in regeneration and stuff, because of their abilities to be both underwater and on land.
Oh, yeah. And he is. I mean, he does seem like an amphibian, doesn't he?
Yeah. So if we're going on the assumption that his brain is most likely structured that way, then I don't think that Pusher would be able to control him.
Okay, because he couldn't control, he doesn't have the cerebrum that Pusher would need to be able to
Right.
take.
Or all the parts his, or it's not that he doesn't have a cerebrum. They have that, but it's
Okay.
much, much, much smaller. And animal behavior is much more governed by, especially animals with really small cerebrums are more governed by the other parts of their brain. And so I think that Pusher wouldn't be able to as highly manipulate the Fluke man as someone else. Now, whether or not he could get someone else to attack the Fluke man is, of course,
The question.
the question. But I feel safe in my hypothesis that Pusher himself could not manipulate the Fluke man. And
Okay.
so I think if we're talking like a dark alley, I think Fluke man would win.
Okay. I think so. Like, my question would be, even if he could control the Fluke man like a little bit, like if he was able to be like, no threat, and then Fluke man's like, oh, there's no threat, and then he comes up and stabs him or something. Like, could he do something like that?
Would he, though?
Like that, because that's not Pusher's MO, you mean?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I guess we got to stick with what we've seen Pusher do.
Right.
And are we going to think that Pusher would recognize that thing is probably similar to an axolotl? I should use a different approach, that sort of thing.
Right.
Yeah, probably not.
Or I mean, like Pusher versus like a lion, let's say, or a shark. Like if we're in that thing's environment, we put Pusher in the water at all, I feel like he's gone.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah. Okay. So if Pusher's in the water, we agree that the Fluke man wins. If Pusher is not in the water, we say, well, let's say he can control somebody else to get them to kill the Fluke man. How is that going to go? I'm not convinced that that ends up good for Pusher. I think it's possible Fluke man still kills that other guy or whatever.
And then also, like, are we giving this a time frame? Because remember, Fluke Man bites you and then has his larva inside of you. So
Yes.
what if he like is it really just a matter of time then if he even manages to bite Pusher?
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I think that like, look, we can't know 100%, obviously, but it's sounding to me like odds are Fluke man wins here.
I think so. That would be, yeah, I would put my money on Fluke Man.
Yeah. Yeah, because to kill Fluke man, I think I don't think Pusher's skill set is correct to kill Fluke man.
I agree.
I
Yeah.
think there are villains who could, but I don't think it's him.
Yeah. Are we declaring Fluke Man a winner then?
You're declaring Fluke man the winner.
Woo! I feel like we need like a little like, I don't know what a celebratory fluke noise is.
Yeah.
Yep. All right.
Um,
First,
okay.
I like it.
So that is exciting. And then just a reminder that our next matchup is going to be DPO, Darren Oswald, played by Giovanni Ribisi, versus the Little Eve clones. And I'm gonna declare he's fighting the child version, not the older version, played by the woman who plays BB on Frasier.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the children Eve clones.
Okay. All right. I can't wait.
I know I already have thoughts, but there's some stuff I really want to look into that I'm excited about.
Awesome. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Musings of a cigarette smoking man?
Yeah. So this, I mean, this is a weird episode. It's a one-off. And so here's the weird thing about it. The framing is cigarette smoking man is sitting in this abandoned building with like a gun with a scope, listening in on the lone gunman talking to Mulder and Scully about how Frohickey, one of the lone gunmen, has discovered what he thinks is cigarette smoking man's backstory.
Ah, okay.
So what we see is flashbacks to what Frohickey is describing. The weird thing about this episode that you find out at the end, but I'm going to mention it now, is that Frohickey read this stuff in like a schlocky magazine with sort of incredible tales in it.
Oh my gosh, that's right.
Yeah. So as a writer, I'm very interested in this episode because of cigarette smoking man's other interests.
Okay.
So there's a debate about, is this canon, if you will? Like, are all of the events in this 100% true that we see in flashbacks or not? Because they're coming from this magazine. I would argue that they're at least mostly true, but I'll explain my thoughts on that. Because it starts with a flashback. So there's kind of like four parts. The first one is called Things Really Did Go Well at Daily Plaza. And it's so the first one is basically a cigarette smoking man assassinating JFK.
Right.
So yeah, I feel like that's what I remembered the most. But there's some details from that I want to mention. The first thing is that uh, we find out that he, again, according to the magazine that Froke is talking from, we find out that his dad was a communist and a spy who was assassinated when Cigarette Smoking Man was a baby.
Right.
Yeah. And then his mother died of lung cancer.
Ooh.
So on the nose. And so then he kind of disappears for a while and then he comes back up and we see him in the military. He's a captain. We see people in training. He's like reading a book and he's talking to a friend. And the friend is like, "Oh, my kid just I think turned oh, my kid just said his first word. It was JFK." And he shows or I think he gives Cigarette Smoking Man a photo of his wife and kid, or Cigarette Smoking Man keeps the photo because we see it later. And it's, a 50s-ish picture of a woman and baby. But then when Cigarette Smoking Man leaves the scene, and I should say he's not played by William B. Davis, he's played by a different guy, which one more moment and I'll get to that. But he says, like, "Oh, bye, Mulder." So it's Bill Mulder. So
So Mulder's first words were JFK.
yeah. Mulder's first words were JFK, and Bill Mulder and Cigarette Smoking Man were in the military together. The guy who plays Cigarette Smoking Man, do you remember who plays him? Not the actor's name, but who he is?
I can almost picture him. Like I think he has curly brown hair. I can like very almost picture him and know what I know him from, but not quite.
You know what you know him from also is playing Jeffrey Spender.
Oh, duh. Oh my gosh. I forgot all about his existence.
Yep, me too, until I was like, "Oh, there's Spender. Oh, Spender is a person."
Oh
So,
my gosh. I forgot about him.
yeah.
Whoa. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's called in to talk to these dudes in the general's office, and they do refer to
Are you going to say anything about who Spender is for people that don't?
uh he is a character that comes up later in the series. I
Yeah.
feel like I should leave it at that.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Um, but basically he is Cigarette Smoking Man is called into this meeting with the generals and some other important people, and it's basically like JFK at the Bay of Pigs, according to these guys, did some stuff that like risked our country as far as communism, and we need to get rid of him. And it's very clear that like his driving thing is like getting rid of the communists. And uh, they also call him just once Mr. Hunt. And so I'm just gonna mention that.
Really?
Yeah, they say his last name is Hunt. So just hang on to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't remember that at all. That seems like something that should be like referenced more or something.
Yeah. Yeah. So the rest of that little vignette is he meets a guy named Lee. He basically sets him up as a patsy, and we basically see that he assassinates JFK.
Okay.
And then it goes right into the next section, which is called Just Down the Road from Graceland. And in this one, he assassinates Martin Luther King Jr., so that's also horrifying. But the main thing I want to bring up from this one is that this is the first scene where we see him typing. And in the first section, he said, "Oh, I never touch him," when offered a cigarette, but now he's smoking. And it kind of seems like having killed JFK kind of fucked him up, and now he smokes. But he's now typing, and he's typing a novel called Take a Chance. and it's under the fake name Raoul Bloodworth. And so he's writing fiction, but it's clear that the fiction is like spy action fiction inspired by his own life.
It
Uh,
makes me feel very sad for him. And like I want him to go see a good therapist or something.
I mean, absolutely. Like, if there's a theme in this episode, it's that cigarette smoking man needs a really good therapist.
Yeah.
For
I
sure.
also, so I remember this episode. It's great. Somewhere in my brain, I don't know why I'm even bothering to say this, but now it's too late. Think like, okay, so JFK, MLK, right? So like he's involved in the assassinations, and my brain just automatically puts Abraham Lincoln in front of those. And he was not involved in that one.
No, that would be a real X-File if he
That
was that old. I'm sure there are X-Files villains who could, but not him.
Yeah,
Although he does survive a lot as the
yeah,
series goes on. I feel like he's blown up at some point and then comes back, but
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Probably not involved with the Lincoln assassination though.
No, at least not in this episode.
Okay.
Yeah. So he basically he's still played by the guy who plays Spender. He's still a young guy but he's a little older. And again it's like they reference some other stuff that they tried to do to like discredit MLK, like trying to convince him towards despair and to kill himself, trying to convince him his wife was cheating on him, like all this crazy stuff that is apparently true, which is just like, oh my God, I went down this deepish dive, deep for me dive into like really shady shit our government has done.
Oh man,
Yeah, I mean, it's
that's
it's
quite the dive.
I mean, yeah, it's one of those things where I can be like, whoa, about it because it was decades ago,
Yeah,
as opposed to like now where I'm like, ugh, like it feels different to live through it versus look back on it.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, so
So
they,
wait, so our government tried to convince MLK of these things?
I mean, not like they voted on it in Congress or
Yeah.
something. Yeah, like spy type people did. Yeah, that they found evidence of certain people doing this in the government.
Whoa.
And I mean, like, just buckle up. I have some more stories.
Oh man. Okay.
Yeah. I was reading this on a couple days ago when my stepson was here and him and Adam were watching football, and I was just like going, "Do you guys know this?" And like about a bunch of stuff. And generally Adam would know about it, but he's a historian, so that's kind of cheating. So yeah, they want to find a racist Southern patsy to take the fall for MLK's murder. And again, it's about, well, if he convinces black people to vote Democrat and then we lose, and again, it's communism will take over, and he's talking like a Maoist, and so cigarette smoking man is like, I'll kill him myself. I have respect for him, and I was like, I'm not gonna watch him be assassinated. Not in the mood. So
Yeah.
I fast forwarded that part. I
Yeah.
mean, life is too short.
Yeah.
But we also do see in the end of that is that he had sent his story out to a publisher and it's been rejected.
Oh.
I know. And then we flash to 1991, and it's the most wonderful time of the year is the title of that one. And I mean, this little scene, I couldn't write down stuff fast enough. He's in like sort of a proto syndicate group. He's kind of the head of it seems like. And he's referring to stuff that they're like working on and doing. And he references like Anita Hill, Rodney King, Yugoslavia, like, they're doing all this stuff. And then he says, well, I don't want to see the Bills win another Super Bowl, as if like they're also like controlling the outcome of sports games. And somebody's like, I don't know, the Bills, like, it's Buffalo really wants it badly. And he's like, he's like, so did the Russians in 1980, which I didn't know what that was a reference to at first. And then it's the Miracle on Ice.
Oh.
Cigarette smoking man rigged the Miracle on Ice by giving the Russian goalie a quick pat on the shoulder that was actually a sedative that made him just a little bit slower.
Oh
So
my God.
yeah. So it's basically like in the decades since
Yeah.
MLK died to 1991, he's gotten like super powerful in a like behind the scenes way. And he also mentions they talk about, oh, that spooky kid who's talked his way into opening the X-Files. And he's kind of like, I'm keeping an eye on him. I got him. I'm handling that. And then they find out that Gorbachev has resigned, and they're like, oh, there's no more enemies because like his whole deal has been fighting communism.
Oh, yeah.
And then he goes home, but he walks by Mulder's office and kind of looks at it, and he starts another story about Jack Colquist, who is the Take a Chance protagonist, and it's again outlandish in the manner of his own life. And then he gets a phone call, and did you remember who calls him?
No, I was trying to remember.
Yeah, Deep Throat.
Oh,
Yes. So a spacecraft has landed, and Cigarette Smoking Man is like, oh, like Roswell had everybody looking in the wrong direction. So they kind of imply that Roswell was a hoax, which is not always what it sounds like. And so again, as I'm saying all this stuff, keeping in mind it may or may not be true.
yeah.
Basically, he meets Deep Throat. There's a downed craft. It's all covered up. But then in like one room, no one else has seen it. There is an alien being kept alive. And they have this serious talk about this. They're the only ones who see it. They flip a coin for who's going to kill it, and Deep Throat has to kill it. And again, I fast forwarded. I was just like, this is messed up, and dark stuff. And he's like I mean, he is a villain. Like it's all,
Yeah.
oh,
But
and then
he's a villain because our government made him one. I mean,
he was a villain because he was willing to be made one, though, at the same
true.
time.
Yeah.
Like they asked him, they very clearly were like recruiting him, and he was like saying all the right things and was interested and on board before he was
In,
getting information.
before JFK.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like
really?
he wasn't pushed to do that. It was like they were like, he's a good candidate, and they like kind of gently talked to him carefully. He's saying the right stuff. Okay, would you be hypothetically, what would you do? So like
Yeah.
he was willing to,
Yeah. Okay.
because
Yeah.
he hates communism, presumably because of daddy issues.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Again, therapy, man. Just
absolutely.
find yourself a good therapist.
Mhm. Um, so we also then see it's now like shortly later, it's 1992. We see that he's listening in on the first scene of the X-Files when Scully gets her assignment, and then she goes and she meets Mulder, and he's like listening to all of this. Um, and he goes home, and then he checks his mail, and he's got an acceptance from a magazine. And he's, for his story, and they talk about how great it is. And so this is the part where like I can't help but talk about it.
Sure.
So he sent it to a magazine, okay, and they're gonna serialize it. Then the magazine's called Romana Clef, and they're like, you will have to relinquish some control, but we'll, treat it really good or whatever. So because he calls them, and so here let's pause for a moment. What should he have done when he got this acceptance? Keeping in mind he does not have a literary agent, he should have immediately queried some literary agents and said, I have an offer. Can you represent me? Because if you've got an offer on the table, that's easy for them. They're going to be interested.
Was this true in the 90s, do you think?
I think it was probably less true, but it was still, I mean, it still would have been a smart thing to do, but I think it was
Yeah.
less common. Um,
I mean, I was alive in the 90s. I'm aware of this, but I also, part of me is like, how do you even get in touch with people? And the answer is you call them on the phone, but I
Yeah.
just don't ever
Yeah.
want to call people so bad that I'm like,
Normally when you were querying people in the 90s, typically if you're querying literary agents, you're mailing stuff to them.
oh my
But
God.
in a case like this, I mean, I was querying on the tail end of this, when I queried my first novel in '07, and there were still some agents that wanted hard copies. So,
Wow. I like every time I have to send a recommendation letter for a student, I think about how when I was first applying to grad school, my professors or whoever was writing letters for me would have to print out and mail a physical letter and then like sign the back of it, to make sure that it wasn't opened. And it was like up until a year ago, maybe, where I stopped asking students how they would need like the format they'd need me to submit letters in and just accepted that they will email me,
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
which was also probably about 2007.
yeah, yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that sounds right.
Yeah.
So look, he should have tried to get a hold of
Okay.
representation first, okay?
Yeah.
Especially when they start saying fishy stuff like, well, you'll have to relinquish some control. An editor might have requests, but like a good editor is going to say, fundamentally, this is your story. One of the things that I've been told is like, if an editor makes a suggestion for your work and you don't like it, you need to figure out what drove them to make that suggestion. What weakness in your story made them suggest X? You can be like, I don't like X as a solution, but I think Y would be better. And like, but the main thing is they do work with you. What happens in this case is they just change his ending. He
Oh.
doesn't even know it until it's published.
Aw.
And I mean, yes, I feel bad for him, but that's also very shady. And they say, like, oh, you don't have an agent. And they do say that they're going to pay him $2,500, which is a lot of money for
Yeah.
1991 and also in general for a magazine. I mean, now, is that a flat rate or is he going to get commission on top of that? Or is it an advance? That I'm not sure about. I, again, he needs somebody to look over this paperwork. Because he does something crazy, which is he writes his resignation letter to the government.
Oh.
Yeah. And I remember I had somebody, I no longer remember who, somebody though was surprised when I got my first literary agent. They were surprised I didn't quit my job. And I was like, are you out of your mind?
What? Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I don't know. I like eating and paying my bills, so I will keep my job. Like,
Huh.
even if you make the assumption that my very first literary agent is going to sell my very first manuscript, we're still talking on a scale of like months to years before I see any money.
Yeah.
Like, and even then, okay, when do I sell the next one? And for how much? And like, it
Wow.
takes a lot to get me to drop my day job, like
Yeah. Oh my
teaching. I
gosh.
mean, I don't think I mean, it would have to be like a crazy amount of money
Yeah. Yeah.
because you have to assume it's not just here, but it's going to keep coming.
Right.
So it would
That,
have to be enough money that I wouldn't really be thinking about that. It would have to be like crazy Fantasyland money,
yes.
not normal advance for a thriller money.
I'm feeling very, very bad for him. And I think it's reminding me of how uh Professor Umbridge in the Harry Potter books, everyone like really hates this woman, you know?
Mhm.
Um, and people have said like I've read stuff online of people getting like irritated and being like, she's not as bad as Voldemort, you know, which like is true that she's not nearly as evil as Voldemort, but that we encounter more people like her in our day-to-day life that make us miserable than we do Voldemort's.
Uh-huh.
And I feel like I'm feeling so bad for cigarette smoking man because like I'm not encountering situations where I have to flip a coin for someone to shoot an alien, but like I feel bad for him not getting like not seeing his dreams go to fruition because it's a
But you
more
feel bad for all the Bills fans, though. They're affected by him. I mean, like, I don't know. I think having watched it, like, because that was my memory, was feeling bad for him. And like, I kind of do, but I also kind of feel like he made really horrifying decisions because he wouldn't go to therapy, right? It's like that. It's that meme of like, men will do anything except go to therapy or whatever. Like, cigarette smoking man will assassinate multiple political leaders rather than go to therapy,
yeah.
like, you don't have to assassinate people.
Yeah. No, I'm agreeing, but that's what I'm
Yes.
saying. That, like, I feel so bad for him because it's a more understandable human emotion than like being
Yes.
asked to assassinate someone. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, because they do set up, and I mean, like William B. Davis is a really good actor, and you do feel for him,
Yeah. Right.
and But also, I just want to be like, he's making mistakes left, right, and center just from his writing career. If he weren't keeping it so secret and, oh, it's just his thing and he does on his typewriter, but if he got involved with other writers and he networked and he could learn what are the norms in this business so he's not taken advantage of, I just was like, dude, sorry.
And then maybe he could have stopped with the assassinations.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, maybe I'm not focusing on the right thing either.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, he also like crumples up cigarettes and throws them away. And he walks out and like this is oh, because he actually is going to send the resignation letter on the day that the issue has come out. So he walks to a newsstand to get it, and they have some other literary magazine type things that are out in this one area, and he's looking for Romana Clef. And they briefly show one called End Credits, and it has some like, I don't know, generic sort of writery sounding articles, but one of the articles is entitled "Where the Hell is Darren Morgan? 6 month search concluded." And I was just like, oh my God.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I never noticed that little joke before because this is like Glenn Morgan, his brother, directed this episode or co-directed it, and I
That's
loved it.
hilarious.
Yeah, I was delighted.
That's great.
Yeah. So he gets Romana Clef. He asks the newsagent for it. He hands it to him, and there's like a sexy woman on the cover, and it's like real schlocky looking. And he opens it up, and he sees that they changed the ending entirely. And so it's crummy and weird and shady to just change an ending. You don't do that. You might tell the author you have to change this or we can't go forward or something if it was extreme for some reason, but like you would never just find out once it's published. At the very least, they'd tell you. I don't know. Like it's beyond comprehension. It would have to be very, very sleazy.
Which
But
it sounds like it is.
it does look very sleazy. But then I'm like,
Yeah.
if they're that sleazy, how are they paying him $2,500 in 1991? I don't know. Um, so he's pissed. He buys a pack of Morleys. He goes and he sits on a bench and he gives this monologue, which, okay, keeping in mind, this came out in 96, this episode, and he has a bunch of vignettes about how he intersected with history. And he starts giving a monologue that begins, "Life is like a box of chocolates."
Oh God, that's right.
Yeah, and he says it's a cheap, perfunctory gift that nobody ever asks for, unreturnable. And he does this whole long monologue about like it's very like bitter and I was reading that like some of this episode is so sort of over the top that when William B. Davis was acting in it, at first they were like, he's acting like, yeah, it is just like the whole thing is satire. And they were like, no, dial it back and try to make it as natural as possible. And yeah, I mean, he does a fantastic job of like, talking about lines about throwing the miracle on ice and whatnot. Like it is really good. And he tears up his resignation letter. And so then we see we're in the present. Frohickey comes out. The meeting, he's like, I need to do more research, but I think this is him. And it's clear what he got was Romana Clef. And he's so like, we don't even know, is the ending the same? How much has changed? We don't know.
And we don't know what the ending was, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right. We don't know. And so Cigarette Smoking Man still has the gun on him. And he says, I could kill you whenever I want, but not today, which is also a line in his novel.
Ah.
So, so that's that.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, one other interesting fact about the episode itself is that originally, as written, he killed Frohickey.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah, and the executives were like, no, he will not be doing that. We veto that.
Whoa, no way.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that is surprising. I mean, I'm really glad they did.
I know.
Wow. Huh. No
Yeah.
way.
And I also feel like at that point, what's the point? Because he just told Langley and Byers and Mulder and Scully.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I kind of already covered all the stuff I wanted to say about Cigarette Smoking Man's writing career and all the missteps he made and what he could have done instead. The other thing I need to talk about now is a man named E. Howard Hunt.
Okay.
Hunt. Remember the last name Hunt? That's the last name they gave Cigarette Smoking Man. He was a CIA intelligence officer associated with a lot of JFK conspiracy theories, later put in prison for his involvement in Watergate. And he also wrote about 20 spy novels.
Really?
And so obviously people think that this episode was sort of like aspects of it were inspired by him.
Huh.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Um,
what whoa, okay.
so he did so many bad things.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so basically whenever that was, Sunday, when I was talking to Adam and Quinn, it was me shouting facts about Howard Hunt. Um, oh my
Huh.
God. And I think I'm just too young because I brought this up to our parents and they remembered it.
Oh,
Um,
really?
maybe not like the finer details, but they're like, oh yeah, Howard Hunt. Yeah, something with Watergate. Yeah.
Huh. No,
Um,
I do not know that name at all. Now I
same.
feel like I should.
I didn't either.
Yeah.
Uh, so for example, it was found that in 1971 he forged some documents that claimed that Kennedy had ordered the assassination of the Vietnamese president in 1963. Why would you do this? Because the Vietnamese president was Catholic, and obviously Catholics are going to vote for Kennedy because Kennedy was the first Catholic president, and they don't want uh, Kennedy to win.
Whoa.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I don't think anything ever happened with those docs. Like it didn't get out, but he did it, and there's record of it.
Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I'm
Yeah.
ready for more.
I mean, the he also planned an assassination of Jack Anderson, who was a journalist who was looking into all this stuff. Him and G. Gordon Liddy, which I was like, oh, I know that name.
Yeah, same. Who is
Yeah,
that?
again, involved in Watergate. As Adam said, oh, that's a very bad man. And I was like, oh, that helps narrow it down. Thank you. That's what we're talking about. Yeah. Oh, he was bad. Okay, that one. No, Gordon Liddy also Watergate shady stuff. Um, yeah, so they were, there was another thing he did where they were going to and they weren't able to. Um, it was somebody's Milwaukee apartment. I noted because it was Milwaukee, where they were. Okay, so George Wallace, who is a Democratic governor of Alabama, not, I would say, a good guy, like racist and bad, but a Democrat, and Howard Hunt is clearly working for Republicans. Uh, so there's this dude, Bremer, who tried to assassinate George Wallace and did not. And apparently, Howard Hunt tried to, but failed, get left-wing political materials hidden in Bremer's apartment before the FBI could investigate. So this dude actually was trying to assassinate him, like that. He
Okay.
was of his own accord. He wasn't meant to be like a patsy or whatever, but they were like, let's take this opportunity to make it not look like this guy is right wing. Let's make sure he looks even more left wing.
Wow. It really just begs the question, right? Of
Hmm.
yeah,
Yep. Yep. It makes you think about a lot of things.
makes you think about a lot of things. And I don't even need to think more about these things. Like,
Right. And so the last thing is, so this dude died in, let's say, '07, something like that. '07, '11, somewhere in there, is when Howard
going to
Hunt
grad
died.
school, you were submitting novels. Got
Yep.
it.
Yeah. He had a bunch of kids, and two of his sons said that on his deathbed, he confessed to killing JFK.
Whoa.
But the other kids said, nope, those two sons were basically our dad was not lucid at this point. They were manipulating him to get him to say stuff and want this for their own fame.
Oh,
So they're just like a great group of people.
yeah, that's terrible.
Yeah.
But also, who knows? Like,
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, I know.
yeah,
Um, and
like,
so yeah, it's just
huh.
insane. And also I've been listening to this podcast called Hot Money, and it's the third season. And it is about all this crazy stuff with spies in Britain associated with Russia. There's a lot of action in Vienna. So it doesn't involve the US. It makes it a little bit more palatable to hear right now.
Yeah.
But it is also crazy shit. And it is a lot more recently where, like, for example, there's these spies who are trying to get the son so they're Russians trying to get the son of, I forget who, some person in I think an Eastern European government. His son is known as like a partier. They want to get like a woman to seduce him and try to get information out of him, and then they like so-called like protect him from it and make it look like who organized that was the West.
Oh my
And
gosh.
but really they did the whole thing. And like this is we're talking like 2021, 22.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's crazy. So
Whoa.
yeah, it's a British podcast called Hot Money, and it's season 3 is about this Russian spy.
I just like it's naivete, I realize on my part, but like the fact that but it also feels almost like being jaded, like not believing spies really exist. You know what I
Oh my
mean?
God, I know what you mean. It seems a little
Yeah.
too
Easy.
cartoony or like no, not really. Like
Right. And so it's like it almost feels naive, but also like feels jaded and like like these things don't. It's just, like I can't, but it's just really hard for me to believe.
yeah.
And
Mhm.
not that I don't, and I think I have a natural amount of skepticism towards things. I'm not a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, you want to hit the right balance there. It's tricky.
It's tricky. Yeah, it's tricky.
Yeah.
Wild. That is just wild to me.
And like we know, I mean, I'm not going to use a name, but our parents know someone who seemed like a spy.
Yes. Well, who said they were recruited by the CIA, right?
Yes, but the question is, or was he a spy for Russia, for the Soviet Union? And as we're talking about the 80s, he was fluent in Russian.
Yeah.
And or is he a fantasist who wasn't a spy at all and wanted to seem that way? Yeah.
And isn't that exactly the sort of thing that a spy would make you think? Like,
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Or like,
I know.
I don't know. I mean, like part of it I think is that my own nature is like I would be the worst possible spy ever.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to even imagine someone managing that, doing that. Like I don't even like to lie about surprise birthday parties. So like
Yeah.
on the other hand, maybe that's a really good cover and I'm a spy. And maybe by me saying that, it makes you even less likely to think I'm a spy and I am one. No, I'm not. Don't worry.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm not
I
worried.
think I think if you're a spy, you have to say it. So if you're directly asked. So
Yeah. I even the other day I read something on Instagram that was talking about like a telltale, like one of the things that they teach.
is this about leaning?
Yes,
Yes.
you saw it too.
Yeah, I've read. I think a student told me actually on our most recent trip abroad.
Oh, that apparently like one of the things they teach CIA agents is not to lean because Americans, that's like a telltale thing that Americans do is like lean when they're standing.
For a nation of leaners. Yeah, yeah,
I read that the other day and was like, again, the same feeling of like, oh, they do that, huh? Like,
yeah. I know. Like they have reason to do that.
yeah, yeah. I don't know. Maybe I run in the wrong circles. Maybe I run in the right circles.
Yeah,
I
maybe
don't
you're in
know.
the right ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think it's possible that we could know a spy, like someone of our generation-ish? Like,
Like how, like, 1 in 25 are sociopaths.
what percent of people are spies?
I don't know. That's a great.
How could we know? How could we know?
Well, I just found out that only like 2 to 3% of the US citizens, or maybe more, well, it was 1 to 2% of 1% are PhDs, and like 1 to 2 or 2 to 3% are of people in the US have like PhD or MD or like some sort of advanced doctorate.
Go you.
Well, yeah, it did feel a little bit because like I feel I don't know. I run in academic circles, right? And so it seems like, well,
Yeah.
everyone has a PhD. Like,
I mean, exactly. I don't have a PhD, and I'm like aware of that at all times because if you think about most of the people I hang out with, they have PhDs.
right. Yeah.
And not even just at work, but like you are my sister. My best friend is a PhD in chemistry. One of my best friends. I feel like I sound like a 10-year-old, but I count many best friends.
Yeah.
But like, I see her the most often. Wolf has a PhD in chemistry. Like
Yeah.
it just seems like, oh, that's what people have is they have PhDs.
Right. And my friends that don't have PhDs have like are veterinarians or physicians or
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
and
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, my good friend
yeah.
Christine, doctorate. I have a good friend with a JD. Like,
And then
yeah.
to be fair, I also have friends with bachelor's degrees, including my husband. And a lot of my friends with bachelor's degrees make a whole hell of a lot more money than I do and have a better work-life balance.
Or don't have a degree and make better money than us. As we
Yeah.
discussed when we not ran into, when we met up with my old friend Matt, and I at point blank asked him his salary.
Yeah.
So,
This
like,
is by no means being snooty.
yeah, no, not at all. It's more just, I think, like an echo chamber sort of thing, almost, or just like you start to believe that whatever you're around is normal, and for us that seems normal.
Yeah.
And it is sort of wild. Like if I read about someone who's 24, and like a reference to so and so is 24 and they've been in this job 2 years and now they're getting advanced into this position, and I think, how? You're a child at 24. You're still in school, right? Like, no. Some people have been working for years.
Yeah. Well, and this also means that there are more sociopaths than people with advanced degrees in our country.
Oh.
But then again, coming back to that question, and how many are spies? And what is the Venn diagram of those three categories,
I
frankly?
would be interested in that. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I
If
would
you include MBAs, then I feel like it's like the spy MBA sociopath, just like a very, not a circle, but not a circle. I can think of one or two people, and we'll say this when we're done recording. I can think of one or two people that I feel like if I found out they were a spy, I'd be surprised, obviously, but not as surprised as others.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll talk later.
Yeah.
Um,
I wonder if we're thinking of the same people. That's what I really want to know.
I'm mouthing words, but I don't think I did it.
No. No.
We'll save it. We'll
Yeah.
save it.
Yeah.
Is
that all we got, though?
that's the episode. That's what I wanted to talk about.
Fascinating.
Yeah, I thought it was really wild that they went ahead and just gave him the last name Hunt. Like it was like, here you go. This is,
Yeah, and again, I feel like we never hear that again.
No. Yeah. So then that does make you think more, is this pretend? Is it not? I don't know. But yeah, I mean, conspiracy stuff though, we got plenty of it coming up because what's next is Tunguska.
Oh, that is one of my favorite episodes. I'm so excited.
Is this the like or no?
The what? Oh, I think so. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Nice.
I think so. At the end of the next one, I think.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, it might be. Yeah. Again, that I mimed again eventually correctly, unlike my mouthing things quietly.
Yeah.
So we got a conspiracy episode or two next, because after Tunguska is Terma. But yeah, we also next have our discussion of Darren Oswald versus the Eve clones. So maybe rewatch or read about those episodes. Let us know what you think. Send us an email. We'll quote you directly by name if you want us to, or not by name if you'd prefer. If you're a spy and you want to keep it secret, or whatever. If you have any thoughts on our decision about Flukeman versus Pusher, and you think we're wrong, or you want to elaborate, let us know, and we will continue in our bracket.
All right. Until next time. Bye.
Bye. We Want to Believe is hosted by Helen Werner and Liz Holden. It's produced by Zach Werner. The We Want to Believe theme music was created and recorded by Zach Werner. Find us at wewanttoBelievePod.com, on Instagram at wewanttoBelievePod, or send us an email at wewanttoBelievePod@gmail.com.